Okay, so rumor mill is actually sizable for this episode, and I honestly didn't even have to dig very hard for about half of these. They just kind of came, and it's a good day when that happens. Hopefully next episode, the rest of the show will go the same way. Anyway, so we have no confirmations, refutations necessarily, unless you watched the gaming and tech section, in which there is kind of a confirmation, but it doesn't quite qualify because it's not the Nintendo Switch Pro. It's just a new hardware version. Anyway, so we're moving into proper rumors, and the first proper rumor is that Spider-Man No Way Home, the entire script has apparently leaked online. Now, I'm putting this in rumors in spite of a number of quote-unquote insiders saying, oh wow, yeah, that's legit, because it hasn't been taken down yet, and usually that's a pretty good sign. Also, because we know Kevin Feige, we know the how tight of a ship he runs. We also saw what happened when we were guessing at WandaVision, all of those quote-unquote leaks that came out that showed us Magneto in WandaVision were all hot garbage. So this one I'm kind of taking with a giant grain of sand or salt, because it just doesn't jibe with what we know of the behind the scenes mechanics. So, likelihood that this is legit, because it is a leak, it's going to be difficult for me to give it very high. And also because it's a quote unquote Marvel leak. I know technically Spider-Man is a Sony picture, but it's very tight in with the Marvel crowd. So that's even less likely in my head. So I'm gonna put this at 30%. I feel like that's actually a spot on likelihood for this leak, because to go any higher would be generous, to go any lower would be silly, would be naive, I guess. So yeah, we're putting this at right about 30%. If you want to go look for it, do it. It's very interesting to see what might actually be happening. There is no explanation in there as to why Doctor Strange has that shovel in the Funko Pop toy, or whatever the toy was, rather. So that's also another thing. It's like, maybe this isn't a thing, but who knows? Maybe I just missed it in my reading. Whatever. So next we're continuing in that line of thinking, we're talking about Doctor Strange is reportedly getting a series over on Disney+. Now, it's not exactly what you're thinking, because reportedly in the Multiverse of Madness movie, we are going to get introduced to Brother Voodoo, who very potentially, according to the rumor, is going to be renamed from Brother Voodoo to Dr. Voodoo, which has happened in the comic books. So Dr. Voodoo is going to be introduced into the movie, and then in this rumored series is going to be the passing of the torch from Benedict Cumberbatch's Doctor Strange, that's a lot of words, to Dr. Voodoo in the series. So a lot of weird going on there. Potentially, if this rumor is true, then it's not going to be actually called Doctor Strange, the series. It will be probably something like Sorcerer Supreme or something along those lines. But even if that happens, we are still many years away from them going into any kind of development for it. So it kind of is what it is there. So likelihood that this is legit. I'm going to take this in two different likelihoods. So the first one being that we get introduced to, I'm sorry, I need to read the guy's name again. Not Brother Voodoo, obviously I know that part. Jericho Drum, the name behind Brother Voodoo. The likelihood we're going to be introduced to Jericho Drum. Maybe he'll be introduced as Brother Voodoo as well. Maybe or Dr. Voodoo, whichever. Maybe the transition might happen at some point throughout the movie. Maybe, possibly. Honestly, I'm thinking more likely if this happens, it's going to be Jericho Drum, and then any character development beyond that will be based on how the fans react to that name. So, likelihood that we will see Jericho Drum in this movie to some capacity, even a very small capacity, I'll put that about 60%. That seems to go very in line with a lot of things, again, that we know are going on behind the scenes at Disney. So, 60% likelihood we will see Jericho Drum somehow. Brother Voodoo, maybe. Dr. Voodoo, maybe. Jericho Drum is the more likely version of that. likelihood that there is going to be a Sorcerer Supreme series or even a Doctor Strange series on Disney Plus. As it stands right now, in the near future, that's at like a 0%. If we extend the timeline a little bit further, I'll raise that up to about 40% that this will happen in a series. Honestly, if we go too far down the timeline to start this, then I bet Benedict Cumberbatch passes the torch, quote unquote, off camera. It's not actually going to happen unless it happens in one of the mashup movies. Who knows? But yeah, likelihood that a series dealing with the Sorcerer Supreme will happen. Yeah, I'll give it in 5 years' time. Ooh, again, probably 40% there. All right, so our next rumor has to do with some gaming awesomeness, and this one, I gotta bump up because we've heard a variation of this rumor a number of times. This is the Silent Hill rumor that Konami is somewhere in development for a new Silent Hill game. So because of what we know just happened, what do we know just happened? Konami just struck a deal with a production company called Bloober. Bloober has done multiple well-received horror games in the past. Bloober is the one that made it known that they have signed the contract with Konami, so that has definitely fueled this fire. So because we already know, Konami has kind of made some cryptic messages, has said, you don't know what's working behind the scenes, and we do, and you're going to love it, and blah, blah, blah. It's all kind of, I think they're wanting us to think they're making a Silent Hill game because eventually they're going to make a Silent Hill game. And I think this Bloober partnership, because they didn't buy them, this is just a partnership. This Bloober partnership is definitely a sign that it is heading in that direction. So likelihood, last time I believe we gave the likelihood something along 55-60%. I'm going to bump that up just a little bit. We're going to go about 65-70% likelihood that this is becoming a thing. We're gradually moving up until we get something a little more hardcore as far as like behind the scenes, corroborating rumors, something along those lines. Because really this is just the same people saying, see, I told you, see, I told you. So until we get something more, I don't know if we're going to be able to go over 70%, but 70% is pretty strong. Next, we're talking about Wolverine in the movies again, and actually very specifically Hugh Jackman's Wolverine in the movies. This one's kind of silly because it's just Hugh Jackman trolling fans. He's posted some things recently, a picture with him and Kevin Feige, a picture that Boss Logic drew of Wolverine's claws, a couple of kind of cryptic things. We already assumed that there was going to be a Hugh Jackman cameo in the Multiverse of Madness. This is kind of leaning in that direction, and so Hugh Jackman is just trolling his fans. So likelihood we're going to see Wolverine again live action from Hugh Jackman in the movies is pretty freaking likely. I'm putting it at 85%. I would be very surprised if we didn't get a very small cameo to some degree from Hugh Jackman in the Multiverse of Madness. If that doesn't happen, color me astonished. Our next rumor has to do with Captain America 4, the next Captain America movie. Reportedly, the main villain will in fact be Sharon Carter. With the ending of Bucky and the Winter Soldier, or Bucky, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Bucky is the Winter Soldier. With the ending of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, that kind of got things going, and now we have an insider, those lovely insiders saying that yes, in fact, Sharon is going to be the villain. She's going to turn very hard into the villain for the movie, and I say, I call bull. I don't know where you're listening to this, so I don't know if I can actually use the second half of that phrase, but it's I can't give any gravity to this. There is no weight here because we are so far away from that movie. There is no way that anybody knows that information just yet. Sure, that might be an idea that's being kicked around in the writer's room over at the MCU studios and all of that stuff. Yeah, that's very possible. It's even possible that it ends up going that direction. The probability there, though, is pretty slim at this point because honestly, everything is fair game because Captain America 4 hasn't even been freaking announced yet. So, all of that being said, likelihood that it is, at this point in time, that it is going to be Sharon Carter as the villain in that movie, 20%. And that's generous. Moving right along, we're talking about the Old Guard. Old Guard, we do know now, because Charlize Theron has made it known, she is the producer on it, has made it known that the script for the second movie has been finished and they will be going into production very soon. Or actually, 2022, I think, was the actual official announcement. Anyway. So with that news, we now know that things are in fact moving forward at Netflix, and that's fueling rumors that say, oh, Netflix has already greenlit Old Guard number 3. We do know that Netflix is looking for a movie franchise that they can turn into their very own MCU. We absolutely 100% know that that is a thing. They have made no bones about it. Is the movie franchise going to be one that is led by Charlize Theron, or is Charlize Theron a little too expensive to go franchise with? I feel like that's very dependent on the performance of this next movie. So to say that they have already greenlit number 3 at this point is naive, is definitely reading your tea leaves the wrong way. So likelihood that at this point they have greenlit that movie, very unlikely, 10%. And I feel like that's pretty accurate. All right, so moving on next, we're talking about Fast and Furious. We have another Charlize Theron rumor. This one has to do with John Cena and Charlize Theron. So Cypher would be Charlize, and then I forget the Toretto, Dominic's little brother. There is reportedly going to be a spin-off movie that is going to deal with those two characters. Again, I feel like Charlize is a little too expensive. She has been in, what is it now, 2 Fast and Furious movies? 2, 3? Kind of 3. She had a cameo in one, so 3. So, I mean, this one's got a little bit more credibility. Hobbs and Shaw did really well, and this is the 5th largest franchise in movie history. So, likelihood that this is a thing at this point, yeah, I'll put that up pretty high. I'll put that at about 50%. Beyond that, I feel like you're stretching, but 50% likelihood that we will see a Cypher and the Little Toretto spinoff movie, whatever that turns into. Our next one has to do with the Batman. This one I feel like it's just a rumor that's repackaged from a different quote unquote insider, and that is that we are going to get a cameo from the Joker, and duh, it's Batman. There's going to be some sort of reference to the Joker. This one is saying we will see Joker on the screen, but it will be just a cameo. Again, pretty freaking obvious at this point, especially if they plan on making this more than one movie. So I'm putting this one at 80%. Again, I'll be very surprised if we don't see this. Our final rumor for this episode has to do with Grand Theft Auto 6, another gaming rumor. So this rumor says that the previously reported rumored release time frame is a little premature. Previously, they were saying 2023, and now we have somebody who's actually pretty legitimately an insider, somebody who has made announcements before that have come true very regularly. He works for freaking Forbes. I can't remember the guy's name right now, but he is saying 2 things about this. A, 2023 is way too early. At the earliest, it'll be 2024 that they release this game, and very likely it'll probably move into 2025. So that's 7-8 years between games. Kind of makes sense. Means probably Rockstar's working on that and something else. But also, the other thing he's saying about this is it's going to be a revisit to Vice City. It's going to be a modernized version of Vice City. They have revisited things in the past, not super frequently, so I can go either way on that part of it, but the time frame makes a little bit of sense to me. So this one I'm going to put 24, 25, somewhere in that neighborhood for a release date. We'll put that part of this at it seems pretty good, 70%. Likelihood that it's a revisit to Vice City, I feel like that's the less likely part of this rumor, so we'll put that right about 40%, just because it feels disingenuous. The other half of this totally makes sense in my head. The rest of this, not so much. So that, my nerds, is the end of the rumor section.